All power and glory go to God. All greatness is from God. When a hero stumbles, well, the cowards rejoice. Nothing feels better to a coward than to watch a brave guy fall.
What you about to witness is my thoughts. Just my thoughts, man.
So, I still feel like I need some closure from the last year. Lots of stuff has happened, lots of progress has been made, but a pandemic has hit. It's happened at a time when there's lots of change in my life anyway. I was going to graduate and I was going to get a job. That's a very significant change in identity that was going to happen whether or not a pandemic affected it or not. If anything, actually, the pandemic elongated that process out because it made it harder getting a job, so I had to think about what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be who I am going forward. I graduated a 3-year course in business and management with first class honours. Very happy with that one. It was bizarre. My finals, which is basically when you go and sit in a room full of 30 people, everyone's nervous, and you go and write down and be quiet for 2 hours, 3 hours. That didn't happen. Like, we effectively had some sort of quasi coursework where for a 3-hour period we were able to access a link to send us to the questions, and then when you're doing it in your own home, that doesn't feel as stressful, and so it kind of disguises the kind of stress about it, I guess. I guess that's a significant change. It didn't feel like that at the time, and now I know full well that graduating actually means nothing. It is not the end result of university. It should not be your big achievement. It is not. It doesn't mean anything. It's a piece of paper. And it's only started to register now that I have actually completed that process, that getting the job at the end of uni, or starting your own business if that's what you want to do, or completing that is the achievement. Going from a student to a working adult is a difficult thing, and I was aware of that change was going to come, and around like June time I started to feel really lost. I started to feel really bored, not a lot was going on, country was in lockdown, and I actually went back to Portsmouth for a week to kind of gauge where I was. I came out of that thinking, you know, I think I am ready, but there's a massive deal of uncertainty there. I was like, I'm always someone that's looking for the next thing. It's just a mindset thing. I remember being at college and being like, I don't want to be at college, I want to be at uni. And then I got to uni and I was kind of like, I spent the first 6 months going, I don't know how to be in the moment. In September I started applying for jobs. Unsuccessfully. I think in total I applied for like around 200 jobs. I've always thought I'm okay with rejections and that sort of thing, but when it gets to lots and that sort of thing, and you weren't getting, and I wasn't getting interviews, that's the hard thing. It's like, graduate recruitment is so difficult because there's so many steps to it. You have to do your initial CV, then if you say the right words in your CV, where there's effectively just, it's not even a person scanning it, it's some software scanning it. If you say the right things in that, then you'll get onto some like psychometric test or some values test, which is subjective in and of itself, but still no person, no human being is actually having a look at itself, seeing if they understand who you are. It's still a piece of software. Then you might get to a video interview, and then you might get what were they called? Assessment centre. Then you get an interview, then you get the thing. There's so many tests, it's so grueling. It's a really hard process. It's the hardest recruitment I'll have to go through in my life, because you've got no experience, you've got nothing to say this is me on it, but you have to compete against the greatest number of people. It's really difficult. I found it really taxing, especially as we go into the winter months. I found I always get like not ideal, like I think it's called seasonal depression, So as we're going into the winter months, my lows get lower and my highs don't get quite as high. And as we move into the summer, like we are now, my highs get higher and my lows don't get quite as low. So it balances out. But I remember going around October, I remember speaking to my dad in October and being like, I just can't, I'm really struggling mentally to keep going. I've always been someone that's quite resilient and won't back away from a challenge, but that was tough. That was really tough to know that you have no choice but to continue, but you don't feel like you're actually going anywhere and you don't know where you're going. That was really tough. So the next thing that started to happen over the last year was I started applying for, I'd had this plan which was I'll go and get a part-time job if I haven't got a job by September, because I was like, oh, surely I'll get a job by September, right? Both my elder siblings, they both got jobs way before September, so I was like, surely I'll get a job by September. And this is where obviously the pandemic had an impact, but September came around and I was like, oh, I had to face the facts. I'm always someone that does things by my word. If I say I'll get something then, I'll get something then. I need the money, I need to be able to drive, I need to be able to do stuff. So I was like, so I got a job at a local gym cleaning. So I was cleaning toilets and showers, and I'm not kidding, it was the best job I've ever had. I've worked at, I won't name names, but I've worked at, how would you call it, small, are they supermarkets? Small convenience stores. I've worked at hardware stores. I've been a football referee where you're outside and you're getting paid 15 quid for 20 minutes of work. Cleaning was the best job I've ever had. You were paid, and it's the first time I've ever been had this. You're paid for what you do rather than just being present. And it's the first time I'd experienced that, and it made me much more open-minded about working. I think when you come out of university, you go from an environment where you're free to do whatever you want. If you don't want to turn up to a lecture, you don't have to, especially if you're getting a grade. And then you are expected to just go into a job where it's like really tough and grueling. But having the experience of being actually valued for what I can do, and doing it, like, it's not highball stuff, of course it's not, but it was significantly different than just standing still for 9 hours and doing everything you need to do in a day and then being asked to just stand around and be present. That's all if I did all my cleaning, I could go home early. Like, it was calm. It was really enjoyable. I used to just listen to music all the time. It was jokes, and the people I worked with, they were calm. So I actually enjoyed that job. The other thing I did was I started to think about my CV. Start to evaluate, how can I become more competitive? How can I think differently? How can I market myself better? So on my CV I started adding videos. Partly why I started this up, because it was just convenient. So I started adding like a video to my CV, kind of saying, hi, I'm Adam, this is who I am. I started really thinking about the way I was formatting my CV. I started reaching out to people and being a lot more proactive. I feel like up to that point I was really reactive, and then there comes a time with a challenge when you have to kind of go, right, this is difficult, but now you've got to suck it up and you've got to bite whatever it is in front of you. You've got to go for it. And so I was like, right, I'm not sitting around being reactive anymore. I'm going to try and address the problem. So I started to really evaluate how my CV was, what I could improve, what I could say on my CV that wasn't currently being there. So other than my CV, I also started to think about what experiences can I add on there. One of the things that people always put on, that recruiters always have, is a volunteering section. I don't have any volunteering experience, so I went and said, right, it's Portsmouth City Council, and I said, right, I'll volunteer for you as I think it's like I think it's a recruitment assistant. Effectively, I'd help find volunteering opportunities for other people. After doing all that sort of thing, I think I started cleaning end of September 2020. I got the recruitment assistant thing at Portsmouth City Council for beginning of October, so those two things happened back to back, and I actually started getting interviews, which was sick. I actually started making like significant progress. and they started coming. I'd always been aware of the fact that it's really a probability game. If you apply for so many, you'll get so many you'll get so many callbacks or whatever it is, and then you'll eventually get a job. If you get 10 interviews, you should be able to get one offer. And so I started making progress on that sort of thing, which was really cool, actually. And to be positive, and it started to become a thing where there was always another thing for me to look forward to. And it's just kind of adding on like 2 things, trying to get one more interview and that sort of thing. Because you don't get all the interviews, and you've got to develop. The hard thing about it is it's very unlikely you're going to get your first 2 interviews or so, because you're learning how to be interviewed. And then you start to get that skill down. So it's all interesting. Another thing that I started to become aware of was, because my mind was craving responsibility, it was craving accountability and routine. So outside of me applying for jobs, I've already said that I started to become more proactive. I was taking more control over myself and my kind of my journey, I guess. But I also started to really crave that in like other aspects of my life. I'm always been quite a fit person. I'm not exceptional at any sport or anything like that. But during lockdown, and uni, to be honest, I kind of took up running. Not far, but then when I had no certainty in my life, I was not at university, and I was kind of in this weird flux between, it felt like heaven and hell. I can't remember what that is in the Catholic thing, but it felt like that. It felt like you're moving, you're trying to get to hell or you're trying to get to heaven, but one of them's going to happen. I started to increase that, and I started to become like almost addicted to it. I would set myself challenges like running 100k in a week, or running a half marathon, or running 10 miles. Or I started to really get amped up on that sort of thing. And it was a way of me taking control over myself. When you're looking for that first job with first salary, you're at the whim, and it requires actually a decent amount of luck. I've spoken to people since where they're like, oh yeah, I've grafted, and me getting this job is entirely because of me, or not because of me, but because of their work. And I was like, it's not. It's like, it's always like 80% graft, 20% luck. You have to fulfill your 80% requirement. If you don't put in 100% into your 80%, you're gonna need more luck. You're gonna need 40% luck rather than 20% luck. But there's always a percentage of luck involved. It's the right person at the right time. It's revising the right thing and the exact right questions coming up on the exam paper. There's always luck involved. So the last thing is, I now have a job. I was told about it in November, but it didn't get offered to me till February, and I started my job. I'm currently 2 and a bit months into my job. I'm really enjoying it. I like the people I work with. But what I've noticed is now it's interesting. All the I speak to my parents often because I live with them. But all the working habits they have, from commuting to workplace culture in terms of water fountain talk and that, or whatever that used to be, I can't remember what it's called. That's all gone out the window now. I work from home. I've been told don't expect to come back into the office full time. Like 5 days a week, you might have to come back in once a week, twice a week, if that. 4 days a month, something ridiculous like that. So it's now, I feel like I'm in a sense of flux again. I have more control over where my journey is, but I feel like the world is now going to have to, there's so much change going on. It's really fascinating to constantly be in the middle of change and not know what to do. It's exciting, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, that's been my last year, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Peace.